Imagine a city, one of America's fastest-growing metropolises, built almost entirely of wood. A city so proud, so bustling, it seemed invincible. Now, imagine that city turning into a raging inferno overnight. This isn't a disaster movie plot. This is the real story of the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, on the evening of Sunday, October 8th, 1871. A small fire started in or near a barn on the southwest side of Chicago. The city was a tinderbox. Most buildings and even the sidewalks were made of wood. The summer had been exceptionally dry, with very little rain, making everything brittle and flammable. To make matters worse, a strong, persistent wind was blowing from the southwest, ready to fan any spark into a blaze. The legend, the one we've all heard, blames a cow. The story goes that a Mrs. Catherine O'Leary was milking her cow, and the animal kicked over a lantern, igniting the hay in her barn. It's a simple, memorable tale, and for over a century, poor Mrs. O'Leary and her cow shouldered the blame for one of the worst disasters in American history. But is it true? Historians now largely agree that the O'Leary story is almost certainly a myth. Michael Ahern, the reporter who first published the tale, admitted years later that he completely made it up for a more colorful story. So, if not the cow, then what? The real cause remains a mystery. Some theories suggest a group of men gambling in the barn accidentally knocked over a lantern. Others point to a stray spark from a nearby chimney. The truth is, we'll probably never know for sure what started the fire, but we know exactly what happened next. Chicago's fire department was exhausted. They had fought a large fire the previous day and were already stretched thin. When the alarm for the O'Leary barn fire came in, there was confusion. The initial response was sent to the wrong location, a crucial delay that allowed the small barn fire to grow. By the time firefighters arrived at the correct spot on Dekoven Street, it was too late. Fueled by the wind and the wooden structures, the fire became a monster. It leaped from building to building, creating a terrifying wall of flame. Embers the size of dinner plates were carried by the wind, starting new fires blocks ahead of the main blaze. The fire was so intense it created its own weather system. A firestorm with tornado-like whirls of flame that could lift roofs off buildings. Panic gripped the city. Thousands of people fled their homes with only what they could carry. The streets were chaos, a desperate flood of humanity trying to escape the encroaching inferno. People sought refuge in the Chicago River, but the river itself seemed to be on fire as burning debris and oil floated on its surface. The bridges, the city's escape routes, were made of wood. One by one, they caught fire and collapsed, trapping people in the roaring furnace. Eyewitnesses described the scene straight out of hell. The sound was a deafening roar, a combination of the wind, the crackling flames, and the crash of collapsing buildings. The heat was so intense it melted iron and glass. Downtown Chicago, the heart of the city's commerce, with its grand hotels, theaters, and new, fireproof buildings, was consumed. It turned out that fireproof was a relative term. The stone and iron buildings were gutted by the intense heat, their contents burning away until only empty shells remained. The fire burned relentlessly through Sunday night, all of Monday, and into early Tuesday morning. It only stopped when it finally ran out of fuel, reaching the shores of Lake Michigan, and when a long-awaited rain began to fall, extinguishing the last of the embers. When the sun rose on Tuesday, October 10th, the devastation was almost incomprehensible. A 4-mile-long, 1-mile-wide swath of Chicago was gone. Over 17,000 buildings were destroyed. Nearly 100,000 people, a third of the city's population, were left homeless. The official death toll was around 300, but the true number is likely much higher, as many victims were incinerated without a trace. The city's bustling center was now a wasteland of smoking ruins and blackened chimneys standing like tombstones. But here is where the story of Chicago takes an incredible turn. In the face of total destruction, the spirit of the city did not break. It was reforged. Even as the ruins smoldered, the people of Chicago began to plan their comeback. Relief poured in from across the country and around the world. The disaster became an opportunity. The old wooden city was not rebuilt. Instead, a new, modern Chicago rose from the ashes. The fire cleared the way for a complete redesign of the city center. New, stricter building codes were put in place, mandating the use of brick, stone, and steel. This tragedy spurred an architectural revolution. The world's first skyscrapers were built in Chicago in the years following the fire, earning it the title, the birthplace of the skyscraper. Architects like Louis Sullivan and Daniel Burnham flocked to the city, their innovative designs shaping not just Chicago, but the future of urban architecture worldwide. The Great Chicago Fire is a powerful story of destruction, but it's an even more powerful story of resilience and rebirth. It teaches us about the fragility of our cities and the incredible strength of the human spirit to overcome disaster. The city that burned down in 1871 was replaced by a stronger, safer, and more innovative city that became a symbol of American ambition. The cow may have been a myth, but the legendary spirit of Chicago proved to be very real. Today, if you visit Chicago, you can still see a few reminders of the fire. The Chicago Water Tower, a limestone structure, famously survived the blaze and now stands as a monument to the old city. It's a testament to a city that went through hell and came back stronger than ever before. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most dramatic events. See you next time.